Right, so I've recently been having an issue with the Rover 75 in that the oil level appears to be very erratic. So it's gone from being on the full to right at the top of the orange part of the dipstick, over full, and I moved it across the driveway there and I checked it and it was half full, and now you can see it's about gone up to 2/3 full. So what was concerning me was the overfull bit, because that could either be one of three things. One, it's the dipstick being a dick, as it usually is on these cars. Two, it could be the PCV filter, which lives under here. Or three, and I hope it's not, it's the high pressure pump leaking diesel into the engine. And I hope it's not that. There's no other issues with the running of the car, no smell of diesel, and the oil doesn't smell particularly diesely, so I'm hoping it's not that. I do have a pump and a rebuild kit that I can build up so that I can get someone to fit it to the car if necessary, but I hope that won't be the case. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to check the PCV filter. Now this one has had a replacement upgrade fitted. It's the BMW Vortex style, which removes the foam element which can clog up, and that causes excess crankcase pressure and oil can come shooting out your dipstick, and ultimately your car could run away with itself. But they aren't service free, they aren't maintenance free, so I'm going to take it out, have a look, clean it with brake, clean it if necessary, and then stick it back in, see how we go from there. I've also got an air filter for the car as well, which I'm going to fit. I'm not going to change the oil yet until I know we're all good. I don't want to waste good oil, get it potentially diluted with diesel, so we'll wait for a few weeks before we do that. So let's get this done first. PCV filter is under there, under a few covers and bits and bobs. So this is the PCV filter diaphragm under here, so quite a lot still to remove. You need to be careful removing the injector wiring and just move it out of the way. We don't snag or twist anything. So we've got a couple of cheeky ones down the back there which are a bit of a bugger to remove, but we'll get there. Right, so the whole piece of trunking here just comes off. It comes off in two bits. There's a join kind of there, but I just took it off in one bit. There's supposed to be screws there that go onto those three there, but they always just spin, and sensibly the previous owner has decided not to refit them, making my life a lot easier. So here, as you can see, the air filter is not in the best of nick, so I'm going to be replacing that right now, and then we'll get the injector wiring out of the way and get the PCV off. Right, so that's the injector wiring moved out of the way, and that's the PCV filter, so it's held on with about 4 Allen screws, so we'll get those out. Just be careful moving the injector wiring out of the way. It is quite thick, but you don't want to disturb too much if at all possible. Right, so I think I've found my problem. So anyway, this is where the PCV filter sits, just in there. Now, bearing in mind I was told this had the maintenance-free BMW Vortex filter, so it wasn't something that I ever thought to doubt. Otherwise I would have changed the PCV filter at least annually. As it turns out, that is not a BMW Vortex filter, and as a result of my believing that that is what that was, it is an absolute state. Don't ever let your PCV filter in any of your diesels that have them get into that state. It's absolutely black. So I've ordered one, doesn't come to Thursday, so I'm just going to need to put the car back together as far as possible so that I can run it, just to move it back into its corner in the driveway, and then we will continue with that when it comes, hopefully on Thursday. But I'm hoping, I think that is my problem. So we'll go ahead and change the air filter, but that's pretty much all you need to know about changing your PCV filter. You've seen what happens when you don't. Putting it back together is just the reverse of the removal. Not really much else to say. Quite an easy job, an absolute must if you've got a Rover 75 CDT. Check that and make sure that that does not happen. They're £7.50 from eBay, so there's really no excuse. Cheers. That was the air filter. So had a bit of crap in it, but it wasn't the worst I've seen. It's been I've had the car a couple of years and I've never changed it, so I presumed it had been changed at the last service before I bought the car, but I should really just have changed it out at the time. So we'll go and do that now. Let's try and find it up here. Careful it's not getting on top of it, that'll give me a black eye. Here it is, air filter. Pretty big things these. Remind me of the ones that used to be in lorries. It's maybe not quite as big as that, but it's not far off it. Let's just see. Yep, exactly the same. It's got a mounting point at that side and it just slots in right there. So that end obviously goes in there, that goes into the intake, and that's just your wee slot there, where that circular thing fits in that semicircular thing there. Right, that's a new one in. It's a bit of a tight fit, but I suppose it's got to be. Presuming that's the right way around. Certainly seems to. I suppose we'll find out when that doesn't go back on. Right, so all we've got to do now is wait for the PCV filter to come in the post, and then we can finish the job. It's a bit frustrating when you start a job and you don't have the bits to finish it, but hey ho, at least we found the problem. Cheers.